Hello everybody, my name is Nick. Welcome back to the Nick Gunny Experience YouTube channel. So for today's video, I would like to share with you my method of how I change guitar strings. And I apply this to all of my stringed instruments with the exception of my double bass because I don't know how to change strings on that. Even though I've seen a video of it, I don't trust myself to do that just yet. No, not yet. I will be focusing this video of how to change strings on an electric guitar. And like I said, I also apply it to acoustic guitar, but since the acoustics that I have don't have a lot of bells and whistles, there's not much to work with. I'm going to demonstrate changing strings with my custom Dunnable Cyclops because it's about time for it to get fresh strings, as I'm going to record in a little bit. If you like to see the method right away of how I do it, skip ahead to this timestamp right here. So in between changing the old strings to the new strings, which is pretty much cleaning up and tightening up any loose ends, here are some tools that I use and what you can use if you don't have them. I use this multi-purpose tool. Part plucks up the pins on your acoustics. This cuts your strings, and this winds it up. If you don't have this winder, use this winder. And if you don't have a clipper, use this kind of clipper. To tighten up some bolts, I use this end. And if you don't have this, you can use a wrench. On the other end is a Phillips screw head and a flathead. So if you don't have this tool, you can use a flathead, or you can use a Phillips. And when I clean up the dust and particles, I'll use this tool and also this tool to get the hard to reach places. If you don't have these, you can use a rag. If you don't have this tool, you can also use a makeup brush. And I use this to clean up my fingerboard. And if you don't have this, you can use lemon oil. I don't think I have lemon oil. And I would usually tune up my guitar with my tuner pedal. And if you don't have a tuner pedal, you can use a clip-on tuner, like my little Snarky. They're called Snarks, but I call it Snarky. And if you don't have this, well, do what you can. The strings that I'll be using on my Dunnable is the trusty 10-52 D'Addario MYXL. So I will be using my D'Addario tripod so I can rest the guitar neck on the floor without too much worries. Go ahead and rest up a little uneven. There we go. Sweet. I preferably like to unwind my instruments first instead of just like clipping it, like as opposed to cutting them in the middle. I don't want the neck to feel shocked once it loses tension. Just like let it gradually lose tension. Yep, and if need be, I'll take a little stubber end like that one, so it can feed out of the saddle. There we go. And so that way I can bundle up my old strings and save them later to take them to my shop to recycle them. All right, now we're gonna use my cloth to wipe off any dust and stuff off of the hardware and on the body and the pick guard. Oop, can't get the tight spot. Let's go ahead and use my little cleaner. Yeah, there we go. Very nice, very nice. So before we put on strings, we're gonna make sure their screws are good and tight in all sorts of places, like my tuning pegs. Make sure it's just like tighten just enough, but not too much to where you accidentally strip the screw. It's a good idea to take off the truss rod cover just to see if your neck will need adjusting for later. From my perspective, it looked like the neck was bowing outwards than inwards, so I'll probably fix that later. Next up, I'm going to put a drop of F1 oil from Music Nomad per fret. One is just enough, unless your fretboard is very dirty, then you probably just need 2 drops. So for sanitary sake, I like wearing gloves during this process, and grab a paper towel or two and start rubbing it rubbing the drip the oil across each fret and start cleaning it out. Over time, it becomes a bit more evident. And as you keep going, you'll see how evident the dirt, how much dirt it gets. And I'll just keep folding the paper towel over as I clean it up. Yeah, you see how dirty it is? Woo-wee! All right, we'll take the cloth again to wipe off any residue and start drying it up. Alrighty, now that the fingerboard is all dried up, we're gonna go ahead and get our strings all set up and ready to go. So for instruments with tunematic bridges, I like feeding all the strings through them first before I assemble it back on the guitar. And then I don't have to worry about the tension or just like keeping it there one by one. All right, and before we start feeding the strings, gotta make sure all the holes are a bit lined up. All right, and welcome everybody. So here's what we do: we feed the string all the way through the hole and make sure it's not slacking. And once there's no slacks, it's all tightened up. Put your finger over the nut and bring the string back at least at or past the first fret, just by a little bit. And once you're covered by that, you can bend the excess string and then press down the string at the headstock and start winding up. My goal whenever I restring is to have at least 2 to 3 wounds around the machine head. And then when it comes to lighter strings, usually at least 3 to 4 wounds. If there's just like too many or excess wounds, you can just like unwind it and just like pull back or pull out the excess string. And then I repeat the same process with the rest of the strings. All right, now that I got the strings wound up, I'm gonna check how the neck is doing on the truss rod. Yeah, I can't really do that from this angle. All right, it's all set to go. Go ahead and put the truss rod cover back on. Once you're all kind of confident, watch carefully and just clip off the excess strings. And then just grab my Snarky and tune it right up. And we're all tuned up, ready to rock and roll. And here we are. Fresh strings. See how shiny it is? Yeah. Alright, now it's ready for some recordings. And so concludes the method that I use for restraining my instruments. And when it comes to instruments that have locking tuners, I'll use the same thing, except not drawing out, because they're locking tuners for a reason. Cutting off some restraining time to do more jamming time. Yeah. Share with me in the comments section your restraining method or methods. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you next time.